Hey everyone, it's Chase with Energy to Conquer. Today is day 19 on my experimental journey to more energy, mental clarity, and just overall focus. If you guys haven't already, like, subscribe, and share. Today I'm going to be talking about brain fog and how to fix it. If you guys ever dealt with brain fog, you definitely want to stay tuned and listen to this. This is something that I struggled with for a long time, and I tried about everything to fix. And I'm going to tell you how I fixed it, or some conclusions that I came to, and just how I fixed it. I still, from time to time, I get off track, but overall, it's a pretty simple fix. And I think a lot of information out there just overcomplicates it, muddies the water. And of course, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical expert, never done any clinical studies on it, but I'm just telling you my real life experiences because it's something I struggle with. If I guess chronic brain fog is a thing, like I struggled from it at periods in my life. And so this is just my experiences, but I think it'll help you, unless you've got some other problems going on. It's coming from medications, those sort of things. I wasn't taking any medications. So anyway, stay tuned. This may help, it may not, but this is my story and what I did to fix it in my life. So if you've ever dealt with brain fog, if you don't know what it is, if you've dealt with it, you know what it is. If you've not dealt with it, then it's just that fuzzy headed, like you can't think. It's just hard to think. You can't get no clarity in your thinking, and it limits your ability to do about anything, and it's really crippling if you get it. And so there's a couple things that I've learned and come to the conclusion that number one is diet, number two it is more mental, and number three is just your brain's not getting the oxygen and blood flow it needs. So to start this off, let me tell you, I think the reason I think it's more mental than anything, and I think it's your state. And I think that state is kind of contributes to the oxygen, the blood flow, but I'll get into that. So I work from home. I run a digital marketing agency. I do web development, so I write code, that sort of thing, do marketing, study analytics, that kind of stuff. And so I sit at the desk and I work from home. So I don't get a lot of activity unless I purposefully add activity into my day to get my heart rate up, to get my movement up, to get my breathing up. And I think as a whole, as a society, we're shallow breathers. So our body naturally is not getting enough oxygen that it should be getting if we was living out in the wild and having to do extraneous things. So I say all that to say, I struggle probably about 9, 10 o'clock. My brain just kind of shut down, gridlock, just brain fog. And it seemed like nothing I could do to fix it. Like sometimes it gets so bad I just have to like close my eyes for 10, 15 minutes just to get rid of the brain fog so I can get clarity to go back to work. And if you've ever experienced this, you know what I'm talking about. Like it's crippling, like it's hard to do anything. So here's the conclusion I come to with a lot of the stuff that's out there, and the reason it's BS is because, if I was sitting at my desk, and let's say this happened every day at 9 o'clock, whatever, let's say 9:30, I'm sitting there, my brain is just gridlocked and brain fog, just fuzzy headed, just can't think, and there's a car wreck in front of my house, and the car wrecks and comes through the living room. I get up from my desk, I run in there like, oh my God, there's a car in my living room, right? So immediately, my mental state like that was changed. I'm going to have a shot of adrenaline. My thinking's not cloudy no more. Instantly, it's going to be clear because I'm in a state of shock. Like my environment, everything's just drastically changed. It's almost like a state of emergency in my life, right? Just like that, the brain fog was gone. So if it was 100% you died, if it's stuff in your gut, if it's this or that, right? If it's all these things, then the brain fog would have been there, even though there's a car in my living room, and I would have been confused. Because if I was taking prescription medication for, let's say, nerve medication or pain medication or something like that, like I would still be sitting there in a dazed state, going, geez, there's a car in my room, right, in my living room. So that's one scenario. The other scenario is, okay, let's say every weekday I'm having this problem from 9 to 10 every day, like it just hits me, boom. Okay, well, let's say this particular week on Wednesday I'm going to do something completely different. Let's say I'm going on some kind of trip. Let's say maybe I'm going on a day trip with the family. Completely out of my norm, out of my element. Guess what? 9 to 10, I'm not falling in this brain fog. I'm excited, like I'm upbeat, I'm doing something different. So my mental state again is completely different. If it was my diet, if it was all these things, then I would be suffering from the brain fog at the same time, and then as if I was sitting at my desk. But since I've changed my complete mental state, I'm excited, like I'm curious, like I'm in an unfamiliar environment, so to say, versus sitting at my desk every day where it's so familiar. Completely different state, right? And so that's the reason with those two scenarios. The first scenario, you're going to say, well, it was adrenaline. But the second reason completely demystifies that. Like when you go on vacation, do you get brain fog at the same time? Or do I get brain fog for a week on vacation? If I'm sitting at the beach or whatever it is I'm doing, you know, from 9 to 10, do I hit that brain fog? No, it don't happen. My environment's different. My mental state's different. So let's talk about some fixes, right? Because that's the reason I think a lot of the information you see out there, even from top sources, is nothing but BS. And I've done diets to try to fix this. I got into the yeast-free diets. There's some books on yeast-free. There's some good information in there, but overall I was looking to get more energy, and they were saying that it was a candida problem with yeast, and I believe it's some people may have that problem. You may be overrun with bacteria. I'm not saying it can't happen, but for me, it was complete BS, and it was a waste of time. It was the worst recipes, meal plan that I've ever ate in my life. Like, it's so bland, it was terrible. But, so here's what you can do to fix it, or what I did to fix it. You know, sometimes I still get off track, and I get in these ruts, and I kind of get back in that place. But number one's diet, just eating a somewhat clean diet. Like, you ain't got to eat a perfect diet, but you can't be eating McDonald's 3 times a day. You know, you got to use some common sense. So number one is getting your diet. Number two, you probably need to drink some water and get hydrated. Number three is going to be coffee. Coffee's huge problem for me. So I cut back to about 1 to 1.5 cups a day. And I contemplate cutting that out. I just haven't gotten around to doing it. I've done it before, started back, but coffee, it cripples me. Brain fog, like that's probably one of my biggest issues, and just overall low energy is the brain fog. So if you want to cure low energy and the brain fog, like for me, after about 1 cup, it's just counterintuitive, and I start going reverse and have an opposite effect. So get rid of the coffee. Number two is, you're sitting there at a desk or whatever it is you do, and you're not exerting yourself any at all, so your breathing kind of gets shallow, so your oxygen levels are going to get lower because you're hardly breathing, and you need to do some breathing exercises, or either get up and do something that's going to cause you to breathe. And that kind of goes into my next point. But for the breathing exercises, you can do different breathing exercises. You know, there's a breathing exercise where you breathe in for 1, you hold it for 4, and then you exhale for 3. So if you want to do that, you can just multiply that for how many seconds. So if you want to do that on a 4, you would breathe in for 4, then you would hold it for 4 times 4, so which would be what, 16. Then you would exhale for 3, which would be 3 times 4. So the formula is 1, hold it for 1 multiple, or breathe in for 1 multiple, hold it for 3 multiples, or I messed that up. Breathe in for 1 multiple, hold it for 4 multiples, exhale for 3 multiples. So you can just add whatever number you want in there to make that work. Also, the adrenaline thing that I talked about with the scenario with the car wrecking and running through my living room, right? So if it is adrenaline issue, well, I've got good news for you, because if you look into Wim Hof's breathing, some of the techniques that he uses will actually like send that shot of adrenaline, and you can manipulate that. One of his breathing techniques is you breathe out and hold your breath. And if you've not tried that, it's a game changer. Like it's a completely different thing than breathing in and holding your breath. Like, because your body freaks out because it ain't got no oxygen. And he talks about you can lay in bed and basically just completely like be so amped up because you've got your body so stimulated just by laying there, just by your breathing and doing those techniques. And so that's kind of those 2 breathing techniques. Either one of those, both of them is going to oxygenate, and you're going to be able to get more oxygen to your brain, because this is all on a cellular level, right? So the next thing is going to be blood flow, which is going to be movement. Increase your blood flow. Let's get up, move around, do something if you can. I don't know, maybe lift some weights or do something. Do burpees, do whatever it is that your environment allows. If you're at work, it's going to be limited for most people. But if you can get up and walk around, get up and do something to get your blood flow moving, get your heart pumping, and kind of stimulate your blood flow. That way you can get more blood flow to your brain. So you're going to get more blood, which is going to be more nutrients to your brain. Like, you're doing all this stuff because as you sit there, your body kind of slowly, you slow your breathing, your heart rate slows, so you kind of slow everything down, almost like you're in a sleeping state, right? And so you don't need all that mental energy. And here's the last thing is if you can stay mentally hyped up. Like, people are really good at being still, but they get mentally hyped up, which I think still stimulates their nervous system. So just be mentally hyped up about what you're doing, excited, overall excited. Like, if you're kind of frumpy in your thinking, like, and you're just kind of blah and I hate life, and like that sort of thinking is going to demotivate you, number one, but it's not going to stimulate. You got to have thoughts that's going to stimulate you. Like, if you're in sales and you're excited and you're hyped up and you're like, woo, ready to go, right? Like that, those people are not going to have a problem with brain fog. It's the ones that's going to sit there like sound like droopy dog, all frumpy in their thinking, or he's just super passive and just no excitement whatsoever. So you got to figure out something that's going to excite you in your thinking and get excited about something in your work or whatever it is you're doing. If you're working, I know it's hard to get up and move around, as I talked about earlier, and just kind of change your mental state. But if you can get up and schedule things inside those time frames where you struggle with brain fog, maybe go file some papers, do whatever it is, do whatever activities it is that force you to get up and move around. And you can do those periodically throughout the day, just to kind of get your blood flow rate, just got to get your nervous system stimulated, get up and move around, breathe. If you can go for do more strenuous activity, absolutely do it. It's going to get your heart rate up even more, going to get your breathing rate up, get more oxygen in your body, and it's just going to work out way better. But the big thing is, when it gets to the more the mental side, as I was talking about, if you can change your state, like you can change your physical state, you can change your mental state. Like, that's the easiest way to do that. So if you're kind of frumpy, you're not excited about much, get up and move around. If you change your physiology, so move your body movements from just sitting there at a desk all hunched over, hating life, barely moving, get up, move around, excessive movement, do whatever you need to do some jumping jacks you need to, do some squats, whatever your environment allows you to do. And then it's going to change your mental state. So then you're going to be able to go back to focus. And that's part of this program. Is a big part of it is incorporated in that. And that's what I'm doing with this program, with this challenge I've been focused on for the last 19 days. I just started a fitness program to really get my movement revved up. Those end up being a lot longer than I wanted to do, but I'm sticking with them for the next, so I got a week and a half left for 4 weeks that I committed to. But I wanted to really just kind of rock it, or I guess supercharge my fitness, because I'd gotten out of shape a little bit. So I'm supercharging that to get back on track and start doing some of this other stuff for the challenge, which is going to incorporate getting up and moving, doing breathing exercises, hydrating, doing these things. I think dehydration is probably a factor in there as well. And you can kind of boil down some of these points I've talked about a lot, but you need to figure out what you're doing, what you're not doing, and what applies to you, and try different things and see what works. Right, so movement, so all that stuff, like move your physiology is going to change your mental state. Like, that's the quickest way to do it. And so that's kind of all I have on that. Is, it's so much of this is mental, and if you're just sitting there and you're just zapped out mentally, like, and you don't want to do nothing, and you don't want to be there, and you're adding to this problem mentally. Whereas if you could work yourself up and get excited about something, boom, it's probably going to go away. Now, like I said, diet, medication, those sort of things, of course, those are going to play a role. But once you get past those, it's just you got to start boiling these down and finding the problem. So that's all I have for you today. guys, one thing that's helped me tremendously, and I noticed I hadn't done a lot of before, is the strength training. I've done running where it's just kind of steady state cardio, but the strength training, I cannot tell you what that does for my energy. I started doing that last year. Complete game changer for my energy. And I think because in a way the strength training is HIIT intervals, so high intensity intervals, and it's getting my heart rate up. Ever said I do, like, you know, it's like it gets my heart rate up and then it kind of rests, heart rate up, but it just completely stimulates my nervous system, I think. And it's like my energy levels go through the roof. And I would have figured it would have been the opposite. I thought, you know, running, but the steady state or whatever. But no, that, like, it's not even comparison. If I work out for 30 minutes or run for 30 minutes, the difference of how much energy I have, how much more focus, how much clarity I have, and all that stuff is combative to the mental brain fog. So definitely I would, if you're not, try a strength training routine, even if it's 3 or 4 days a week, and see if that helps. See how you feel after those days, and maybe even keep a log, something simple. Just write down how you feel afterwards. Even write down, you know, when you do feel brain fog, write down what you ate the day before or what you ate the meal before, or caffeine. Like, you just got to start tracking this stuff, and then you're going to find the common denominators and you'll be able to point it back, you know, and or look at your movement. When was the last time I moved around? How am I breathing? So I've got those breathing exercises I said earlier. I do that like 3 times a day. It's like, I can't tell you, I get up, move around, do the breathing exercise, come back, sit down, like I'm focused, I'm clear. I guess some people call that a form of meditation, but it just kind of just re-stimulates my brain, and I think it reoxygenates, it gets the blood flowing. So that's all I've got for you today. Kind of ramble on that, but I know that's an important subject. It's something I struggled with for so long, and I know there's a lot of people that struggle with it, and I know when you go look online, there's so much BS out there about it. So I hope this helps somebody. Hope you guys have a blessed day. If you like this information, want more of it, be sure to subscribe, like, share, comment. We appreciate it. You can go check us out on our website. It's energy2conquer.com. Hope you guys have a blessed day.